Yes, people, welcome back to 1894 for a brand new video. I'm Hugh and I've got Joe here with me, and we're going to be giving you our honest opinions on the Premier League so far. Let's get right into it. Okay, Joe, at the start of the season in August, we were led to believe that this Premier League title would be one of the most competitive in a long time. Obviously, in recent years, it has been very much a two-horse race between City and Liverpool, or else a one-horse race for just ourselves, City. But after certain clubs made certain signings in the summer, and obviously Liverpool have very much rejuvenated themselves, I'll give them all credit for that. They've done really well so far this season. We were led to believe, like I said, that this was going to be a really tight four-horse race between four top teams, four of the wealthiest and strongest teams in the country, obviously pre-Newcastle takeover: Chelsea, Liverpool, ourselves, and United. Four very strong teams, on paper, four very strong squads, but it's not looking like that. It's not looking like it's going to turn out that way. It's looking there's a bit of a gap now breaking between three of them and the other. So I've got the Premier League table here in front of us, and we're going to put it up on screen now for you to see as well, just to give you an idea of this bit of a gap I'm talking about. You can see the bit of a drop off in form from one team. At the top of the table, you've obviously got Chelsea on 22 points, Liverpool second in 21 points, and ourselves in third on 20 points. So it's obviously very tight at the top. We're just 2 points off the top, Liverpool 1 point off the top, and all three teams are looking pretty strong. Obviously, Liverpool just thumped Manchester United 5-0 in Old Trafford the other day. We all had a good laugh at that. We thumped Brighton, 4-1 in the end, and Chelsea thumped Norwich 7-0. They were three very much champions performances, so I think it's fair to say all three teams are very much capable of kicking on and going on a run, and the games between between the three of us will be absolutely crucial. So I think our kind of draw away at Anfield was also very important. But Joe, I talked about a bit of a gap breaking between three of these teams and another team, and we'll kind of get into our opinions on Manchester United in a bit, but your overview of the season so far between these top four alleged title challengers at the start of the season. Go for it.
I think whoever wins the league, I genuinely think it literally just comes down to who beats each other. I don't, with the way that it's going, Liverpool haven't lost yet. I think we've got a slight advantage, although we are 2 points behind in this sort of three-horse title race that we've got going on now. We've played both of these teams away, who are above us, which is big for us, especially getting a win and a draw. I genuinely do think it's going to be, go right to the end, and it'll be who can beat each other. I don't see a way of any team, really. Especially Chelsea. Chelsea just look defensively so good. They play terrorism ball. They play 8 players behind the ball, but I mean it works and it's getting results. The only loss they've got is from us. They've won 7 out of 9, and they're probably deservedly top at the moment.
Yeah, Chelsea are very defensively solid, and I'll give them all credit for that. I think, are we the only team to have beaten them this season? Can you tell me that?
In the league, yeah.
Yeah, but my issue with Chelsea is now, this could come back to completely bite me in the arse. But the reason I do believe that, say, come March, April time, it'll break down to a two-horse race between City and Liverpool is, I think Chelsea will struggle going forward. And that was evident against us. Obviously, they looked great at the back, even though we had all the ball, and we probably could have scored more. And maybe with a proper striker, we would have scored 2 or 3. But I think they struggle going forward, and I think you might find if certain teams are able to get ahead by a goal or two against Chelsea, then park the bus, you'll stop Chelsea scoring. I know they have some good players, but I'm not sure playing this 5 at the back really suits them when they have, Lukaku up front, who needs some good sharp wingers and attacking midfielders behind him to help him, like he did at, say, Inter Milan. So I think they'll struggle on that front, but I could be wrong. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think they need to find a way to get Lukaku into the games more. He struggled a little bit. Obviously, Inter Milan, he had like a striker to bounce off. He played alongside Lautaro Martinez. He had someone to feed off of. He had Hakimi just crossing it in from the right. Which, I mean, he's playing a similar system with the 2 wing-backs that he was at Inter Milan, but they just need to find something. Like, I don't know whether Mason Mount is that natural creator. It's going to, supply him with loads of chances. I don't think he is that sort of player. I see him as more of, maybe not as good, but more of a Frank Lampard, more of a goal scorer than a creator. So they'll probably struggle with that. Obviously, AFCON's coming up. With Chelsea and Liverpool being hit by that, we're going to be hit by that as well. Liverpool will be hit the hardest by that, but they're going to lose their goalkeeper, who is one of the best in the league. I know they have the most expensive goalkeeper in the world on the bench, but he's not as good as Edouard Mendy. So I think by the time that rolls around and Edouard Mendy going, they might struggle a bit.
Yeah, we'll get on to Liverpool in a second because I think they're a really hot topic at the minute with the way they're playing. But with Chelsea, I watched them against Norwich in the weekend, and I know it was only against Norwich, who, let's be real, lads, really, really poor opposition, and I'd say they could be very much relegated by February, if I'm being totally honest. But there's a part of me thinks Chelsea look better without Lukaku. You know that because they didn't have Werner. I don't think either. I saw him; he was injured in the stands. Lukaku obviously wasn't available. They were able to play kind of more attacking football. They put more kind of tricky wingers, and Mason Mount obviously got his hat-trick as well. I think they look slightly better. But having spent 100 million on Lukaku, Tuchel's not going to take him out of the team. He's going to persevere with Lukaku on the basis that if he gets his opportunities, he'll probably score. And you kind of mentioned how Mason Mount is probably not that natural creator. I do think Mason Mount's a very good player, but maybe the deeper role suits him better. I couldn't help but think that if Lukaku had someone like a Phil Foden behind him, or near him, Lukaku would score a whole load of goals because Phil Foden is that natural creator. But Lukaku just doesn't have that at Chelsea. They're missing that. I don't think Ziyech is good enough. I think Havertz is very inconsistent. I don't know where Pulisic is these days. So I think their attack basically my overall point is I think Chelsea's attack is the reason why this will ultimately come down to a two-horse race between the two best attacking teams in the league. I mean, let's move on to Liverpool on that point. Liverpool going forward look absolutely lethal. They really, really do. And I think we did a really good job against them. I think for the most part, we kept them at bay. Other than an absolute masterclass of a goal from Mohamed Salah, we would have beaten them. And I think he is the main reason why they will be. If he keeps going the way he is, and he's shown no signs of any let-up, he is the main reason they will be there or thereabouts with us. Fingers crossed at the top of the table. Joe, Liverpool, absolutely fine form at the minute. It's kind of hard to talk bad about them.
They haven't lost in the league yet. That just tells you how good they are. They have drawn 3, however, so they have dropped points in multiple games. I think they've dropped points in the same amount of games as us, but they are 1 point ahead of us. They've got the best player in the league right now, arguably best in the world, Mo Salah. He's just absolutely incredible. But again, it does come back to AFCON. They're going to be hit the hardest out of anyone here because they're going to lose Mane, Salah, Keita, Matip, if they're going, I'm not sure. But them two players, them two wingers, the goal scorers, the main goal threat from Liverpool, Mane and Salah, as soon as they go, they will struggle because they don't really have the depth, like the world-class depth in that area, in my opinion, to keep that going.
Read something on that AFCON topic, which was that if it's all depending on COVID rules and regulations now, if they do not have to quarantine coming back from the AFCON, even if Egypt and is it Senegal that the Mane plays for, even if they were to both get to the final, if there's no quarantine, they will miss a maximum of 2 Premier League games. The week before is a cup week, so you would assume they'll be involved in that, or they won't have a game. The maximum they can miss is 2 Premier League games. Remember, bear in mind, January is a really, really big period. There's a lot of games, very congested. If they have to quarantine for 2 weeks, like the rest of us will generally have to do, they can miss up to 7 Premier League games. Now, that could be a massive, massive factor in why they may not win the league. You made a very good point there that they do not have the squad depth. They don't. And you also made a point that Mohamed Salah is probably the best player in the world right now. I'm going to take my City cap off for a sec and agree with that. He absolutely is. I'm struggling to think of anybody else in the world who is doing the things he's doing, creating chances, scoring the goals, and he seems to have leveled up. He's really trying to make a point. I kind of thought about it in depth a bit the other day when I was watching him. I was like, what has spurred him on so much? I mean, you compare him to last season where he didn't hit the heights that he had done previously. I don't know, maybe you can come in on this as well. Ronaldo signing for Manchester United, and people saying, oh, the possible best player in the world, I know that's up for interpretation, has just joined Manchester United. Do you think that kind of thing, a player like Ronaldo signing for United possibly made Salah go, hang on, I'm going to level up, I'm not going to let this guy overtake me, I want to be the best? Because I've seen interviews with Salah and he's a very driven, ambitious guy.
I think possibly, yeah. I mean, he's been going for that title of best player in the league. It's sort of been, him and Kevin De Bruyne fighting it out, going between each other. But now there's a new threat in Ronaldo who, let's not get it twisted, he's at least the second best player of all time. Let's not get it twisted. But he's not up there for best in the league at the moment. He's not. I think Salah has stepped his game up. Obviously, it's helped with the fact that Liverpool aren't playing with a mix and match, team starting 11 because they don't have all the injuries they did last season, which will help him. He's also playing for a new contract as well. They want to get him tied down to one of those. So he's also kind of playing for his future a little bit there, reminding Liverpool that he is that good and he warrants the money that he wants. So, yeah, I think, all of that put together is, made him become even better this season.
Kevin De Bruyne at City is earning 400 grand a week, and wherever Haaland goes, and he'll get his 500 grand a week, his 50 million a year, whatever it is. If they're able to get that money in this current form, I think Salah is more than worth it, and it'll be very interesting to see what sort of a compromise Liverpool come to with Mohamed Salah. If I was their owners, if I was the man calling the shots in the finance office in Liverpool Football Club, whatever, whoever FSG have doing that for them, I'd give him whatever he wants, man. He's absolutely priceless. See, he's not just scoring those goals. You see the goals he's scoring as well. They're absolutely outrageous. And I know myself and Joe did a transfer video last night. We recorded one where we saw very hollow links by some, I think it was a Spanish newspaper, suggesting that Barca and City are going to rival each other for the signing of Salah. If that was to ever happen, I think that would be Premier League finito. Imagine like Haaland and Salah on the same team, something like that. It's too crazy to even comprehend. I think the only club in the world that could pull that off is probably PSG. But listen, we may as well move on to the next team we want to talk about before we talk about ourselves, which is Manchester United. At the time of recording, like I said, they are just off the back of a thumping of their fiercest rivals, Liverpool from Merseyside. Joe, what are your thoughts on Manchester United season so far?
They are in absolute disarray at the moment. They are currently starting 7th, which is a Europa Conference League position, to my knowledge. Sat behind Spurs, who some of Spurs fans actually want their manager to go anyway because they don't like their football. Level on points with Everton is not looking good. They need to find a way to get Ronaldo involved more. He's so isolated up top. He's ghosting through games. He may come up with the odd goal. That's just because he's Ronaldo. But they are in absolute disarray. They signed Sancho. He's done nothing. They signed Varane. He's got injured. Half the fan base, I say half the fan base, probably more than half the fan base want the manager to go. All his mates like Gary Neville, even I think Sir Alex Ferguson has said they trust him, give him a bit more time. No one knows what's going on, and quite frankly, you just got to laugh really, because it is just genuinely funny.
If you'd said to me in August, after they'd signed Sancho and Ronaldo and Varane and all these, genuinely big name players, you're going to be making a Premier League sort of overview video at the end of October where you'll be talking about these title challengers, I would have thought that the on-screen image we have right now of the league table, we would have just had to put the top 4. It would have been City, Chelsea, Liverpool, United, whatever order. But no, we've had to put the top 8 in because United are so far down. They are in absolute turmoil right now. They haven't even played the bulk of the top teams yet, or at least they hadn't until they lost to Liverpool the other day. They still have to play us in 2 weeks. And I did have a bit of a fear that if they did sack Ollie after their thumping from Liverpool the other day, that if, say, someone like Conte came in or whoever they brought in, really anybody who they brought in, would give their players a big bounce. That kind of new manager vibe. Everybody in the squad plays out of their skin for a couple of weeks because they all want to impress the new manager. And I'd have a fear that they'd do us because we don't have the best record against them on Derby Day in recent years. Ollie sort of has one over Pep at the minute, but it looks like from reports today, I've seen some people saying they've given him 3 matches to save his career, and he's on thin ice. We could end his tenure at Manchester United if we gave them another hiding in 2 weeks. But the thing is, I think Gary Neville was the one who made a point on Manchester United after the Liverpool thumping. He says City could come to Old Trafford in 2 weeks' time and beat Liverpool or beat United 1-0. But it would be more embarrassing, right? Because the thing with Liverpool is they scored their 5 goals, great, they were good goals, whatever. They got their 3 points, embarrassing for United, that scoreline. But City will toy with them. City play a very different style of football to Liverpool. They'll toy with United. They'll drag them into places they don't want to be. They may only win 1-0, but it'll look really embarrassing for the spectator. Now, another reason why I'm pretty confident as to why we will beat them, and I will talk about this in depth in our preview closer to the time, is they're nowhere near the exact same style of football. They don't play anywhere near the exact same style of football that they used to play, which was really effective against us, which was the counter-attacking football. Sit deep, let City have the ball, then as soon as you get the ball off them, you snap and you break into a rapid counter-attack. Someone like Dan James used to cause us awful trouble. Rashford, Martial, I remember being there watching Martial score. They can't do that now because they've now opted to pay for Ronaldo, get him in, sell all the shirts, take all the money, and he has to play. And he plays, and he doesn't have the legs to press the way these younger, faster players did last season. Even Cavani was better at it last season. Now he's stuck on the bench having given up his number 7. Really embarrassing. So they don't actually have a style of play. They don't have a tactic that they can use and stick to week in, week out and buy into a project and a plan and a process. which is why they're all over the place. They're completely in turmoil. If you watch the shape of their back four the other day, especially Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire, I'm sorry, since the Euros, I know he was good in the Euros, Luke Shaw, he's been a fraud in the Premier League this season. The shape of their back four against Liverpool was pathetic. They were absolutely all over the place. The very first goal is a prime example. I think it was Keita who scored it. Like wow, if that was our back four, I'd be absolutely embarrassed. They don't have a shape, they don't have a system, and that is why they are sitting in 7th place, deservedly so. And if things go wrong in the next few weeks, they could drop even lower. Now, there's no one loves slandering Manchester United more than City fans. Myself and Joe are like that. But we are being honest. We're not being unfair. We're not just being bitter rivals, bitter local rivals. We're being honest. We're giving you our honest assessment of how this team is playing and why they are where they are. With the players they have in their squad and the money they've spent, Joe, they should be up there with us. They really should be up there with us. They have 2 out-and-out strikers right now, Ronaldo and Cavani. In the last 10 years, 2 of the most lethal strikers in Europe. And what are they doing? It's been an absolute shocker. 007 on the bench. Jadon Sancho, they waited, what was it, a year and a half to sign him? 2 years? What was it, 80-odd million? He's not got a goal or an assist. Where's it gone wrong? It's embarrassing. I'd be really, really embarrassed if I was following that club right now. And the fact that they haven't sacked him straight after such a bad loss to Liverpool is really worrying. Really worrying. Not that I give a shit. I'm finding it pretty funny. Went on a bit of a rant there. Apologies. I hope you did enjoy it though. Joe, what do you reckon on anything I said?
I saw a stat, and I think it was Liverpool scored the same amount of goals, which was 5, as the amount of minutes that Donny van de Beek has got in the Premier League this season for Man United. That is an absolute shambles. He has no idea how to manage his squad. He has no idea how to set up his team. He's just... it's funny. I mean, Ollie Inn's trending because the other 19 teams in the league want him all to stay. That tells you what you need to know. When he's there, I can't see him winning anything. We were talking about early season, the Ronaldo factor. You know, they might win something because they've got Ronaldo. That hasn't worked because they're in 7th. So it's just an absolute shambles. They can't play the system that was working anymore because they splashed out for Ronaldo. And yeah, they might have got a load of money for it, but it really hasn't worked because they're going to have to spend money to get rid of Solskjaer when inevitably it doesn't work. And I think they're going to give him maximum of 3 games to turn it around, which is Spurs, Atalanta, and then us. If he makes it to the City game, I will be over the moon because I want him to still be there because I know we're going to win.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I'm going to take my City cap off here again and just be a genuine football man. As long as he is in that job, as long as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is managing Manchester United, they're going nowhere. They really are going nowhere. It's so evident that the Glazers and Ed Woodward, their goal is to just secure top 4. Just stay in the Champions League. Every summer sign 1 or 2 big names like your Ronaldos, like your Sancho. Sell a shitload of shirts. Keep the fans at bay. Just stop them protesting. Stop them hopping on the pitch, basically. And things are all calm. But that's fine. Listen, I'm cool with it. Like Joe said, as long as if Solskjaer's there in 2 weeks' time and we play them, I'm buzzing and we will beat them. And I think we'll beat them well. And I'll put my neck on the line and say that. I think we'll beat them well. I think our attack has really picked up so much form. We're scoring goals. We're beating teams good and proper now. And we're proving that we don't need to rely on a striker. We're more than capable of scoring. We've got 7 or 8 reliable goal scorers on the pitch. I think we can thump them just like that, just like Liverpool did. But I'd also happily take a 1-0 with a good performance. So we may as well move on to ourselves, Manchester City, and our season so far, and where we think that will end up in a couple months' time. Before I lose the plot, keep ranting on about Manchester United, something I shouldn't have to do. But here we go, Joe. Manchester City so far. What do you think, and how do you see? How do you project it? How do you see it going?
If we carry on like we're going now, we will be absolutely fine. But I go back to this AFCON point. I don't want to mention it too much, but we will only lose the 1 player in Riyad Mahrez, which, with our squad depth and having practically 2 starting 11s that could get top 4, it means relatively nothing. We just stick Jesus there. Sterling might get a goal there, whatever. It really doesn't matter. We started off the season poor. We've played in our bogey stadium already. Spurs away, we've done that. Liverpool away, we've done that. You know, we went to Chelsea away, we beat them. We've played some of our relatively, I would say, bogey teams that usually either take points off us or give us a really, really tough game at places that we normally don't like to go. So we've done Anfield, we've done Spurs, we've played Leicester once, we've done Chelsea away. We really don't have anyone left, apart from if obviously United get a new manager, then maybe they'll actually give us a game and possibly win. But I'm looking at that and going, we're in good shape. We're in really good shape. We've got the best squad in the league, squad depth. So I think we'll be relatively fine. And to be in a position where we're only 2 points off a title, I think we're in a really good position there.
Yeah, you touched on our squad. We absolutely, in my opinion, and I'm not being biased, I think we do have the most all-round complete squad. The main talking point after we failed to sign Harry Kane in the summer around City was, oh, they won't be able to compete with the likes of Chelsea, who just signed Lukaku for goals. They don't have a striker. They can't win the league again with just a false nine position. Right now, we're proving them wrong. We have an extremely solid back four. Laporte and Diaz, in my opinion, right now, are the best combination of centre-halves in the world right now. They really, really are. I think we've conceded the least goals in the Premier League this season, something along those lines. They're doing a fantastic job. Then you've got Stones on the bench. You got Walker on the right. You got Cancelo on the left, who's playing out of his skin. Hopefully he can continue that form. And then we've got at least five, if not more, but definitely 5 players who are playing attacking positions, can score goals and score goals regularly. Young players, experienced players, leading the line, scoring goals, playing a whole array of positions. And that is why, like I said earlier in the video, I think it will ultimately become a 2-horse race. I think Chelsea will be well up there, but I think when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, City and Liverpool will be at the top. Now, if I'm really pushing it out there and I'm really being hopeful and optimistic, City could pull away a little bit, not at a canter like we have done in recent years, but we could pull away if that disastrous possible outcome from the AFCON happens for Liverpool, where they lose some of their really key players for a good few games, if there's a whole quarantine issue in that could really damage them. So I think there's an opportunity there for City to get on top of the table at the very least if we continue it. I do struggle to see City dropping a huge amount of points after the Old Trafford game in 2 weeks' time. That's the last bogey, the bogey one that Joe mentioned. Chelsea away, Liverpool away, Spurs away, and now United away, a place we've struggled at other than in cup competitions. Get that out of the way, get a 3 points there, 1-0, doesn't have to be glamorous. We're on, in my opinion, not the home stretch, but on a fantastic road. We've got to this point where we're 2 points off the top of the table. Like Joe said, with all of our bad games, all of our toughest fixtures out of the way, win your games at home against these top opposition teams, and then just beat the rest of the table if you can. I know it's much easier said than done. Southampton gave us a good game a few weeks ago. Burnley did make it tough for us, even though we beat them 2-0. So it's much easier said than done, but we more than have the capabilities to do so. So it's really interesting. I do still think that it is the 3-horse race. I'm not cancelling Chelsea out of this conversation. It very much is a 3-horse race. But the whole point of this video is to kind of project into the future based on what we've seen so far. And I just think Chelsea lacked that little bit of creativity in midfield to get the goals required to keep up with City and Liverpool, who are in this current form. Joe, any final thoughts on that?
Not really, no. I mean, we should be winning most of, if not all our home games. That's the aim of the season. We want to have this formidable home record, quite like Liverpool had. I think the only teams that I'm wary about after Old Trafford is Leeds. We haven't beat them since they've been back up in the Premier League. That'll be a hurdle to get over. And Brentford look really, really, really good at the moment. So I'll be interested to see how we get on when we play them. But no, we're in good shape, having played the games that we have, and we're scoring goals and not conceding many.
If you'd said to me at the start of the season that at this point of the season we'd be 2 points off the top, having played the fixtures we have, I'd bite the hand off it. Absolutely happy. And in recent years, it may not mean much right now, but in recent years, City have really, really kicked on the second half of the season. I don't know what it is about after the Christmas period, but City really kick it up to another gear. And it's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to the game in Old Trafford in 2 weeks. And I'm really looking forward to watching how all these other teams get on. It is a very exciting Premier League this season, and it's panning out to be very exciting and will continue to be very exciting. It's enjoyable, obviously, watching our local rivals suffer a little bit, and long may it last. Hopefully we do the business there in 2 weeks' time. Do leave your thoughts on everything we've said down below. Obviously, it's a very topical conversation, this sort of one, giving our thoughts about other teams, which is something we don't usually do. But I think we might try to do this video maybe once a month, Joe. I think we might try to do something like this once a month. Give our overview of how the season's going. We can talk about our title rivals, how they're getting on. And it's quite enjoyable. So get yourselves involved down below in the comments. Do leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And subscribe if you're new. We really appreciate the support. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon.